I would like to talk about a very painful subject. What happens when a priest quits? Now, I am not talking about those men who never should have been ordained in the first place, those misguided souls who took on a sacred office, failed to live up to it, and when they resigned, everybody breathed a sigh of relief. No, I'm talking about those priests who seem by all exterior criteria to have a good personality, a deep faith, a commitment to God's people, and a great deal of generosity in their lives, who for whatever reason, at some point in their priesthood, give it up. What a sad moment that is. Now, in the early 70s and perhaps up into the 80s, one of the main criterion was priest would meet a young woman, fall in love, resign to get married, and have a family of his own. It's understandable, but still all so sad, because as a priest, we're a part of the family of God as a whole. And although we don't father any children ourselves, we become a father figure for thousands of people. And so it's a time of sadness whenever I hear of a priest resigning from the priesthood. Many of these men seem a lot more intelligent than me, kinder than me, more devoted than me. And I feel the loss for the church. Now, in my spiritual journey, I look back on my life and I think of all the wonderful graces I've received and all the love that has been shown me by the people of God. And I'm humbled by it and grateful for it. It seems in one life of a priest, you live 1,000 lives, because there's so much grief that you share in with others, so much joy. You know the story of countless souls in their struggle to be one with God and decent to other human beings. Now, in my room, above my bed, I have 3 images. The first thing that I see in the morning, the last thing I see when I turn out the lights at night. One, of course, is a crucifix that I rescued from a storage room. It's nicked and battered. It needs a lot of cleaning and brushing up. But I identify with it because precisely I am in a similar state, nicked and needing a lot of brushing up by the grace of God that can be found in the cross of Christ. But I also have an icon of the ladder to heaven from St. Catherine's Monastery in the Holy Land. This replica gives me a lot to think about. There are 30 steps on that ladder, and monks are ascending the ladder up to Christ to enter heaven, and Christ is greeting them as they come. However, there are other monks that are being pulled off the ladder by devils. Some of them almost made it, almost to the top, when disaster strikes and they're pulled down to hell. You also see on this icon a group of monks in one corner praying for those on the ladder, and you see the angels of heaven praying for them as well. What a difficult journey the spiritual life is. Now, if I in any way gloated over the fall of a priest, or felt happy about the fall of a priest, or felt superior to a priest that had fallen, I think at that moment the devil would get his hooks in me and pull me down to hell, pull me off my high horse, have me fall spiritually. Now, in our lives, we have to be very careful. If we're ascending to God, it's by the grace of God, the prayer of the angels in heaven and the saints on earth. I know I've been carried by millions of prayers of people who pray for priests in general. And I've been carried by the people of God who pray for me in particular. And I'm so grateful for that. In my priestly prayers, I pray for others in the divine office and in my personal prayers. We're all linked on this great pilgrimage by our loving support for one another. But now I also have an icon, a replica of an icon, of my two great heroes, Saints Peter and St. Paul. Both of those men were carried by the grace of God in Christ. And both of them always remembered how unworthy they were of it. Peter never forgot his denials of Christ at the crucial moment when Christ's trial was going on. And his abandonment of Christ on Calvary, he never forgot that. Paul, the great apostle and evangelist, he never forgot that he was involved with the murder and martyrdom of St. Stephen and persecuted the church in so many ways. He always looked back on his life and realized that it was the grace of God working through God's people that was sustaining him just as he sustained others with his work. Now all of us, when we look back on our lives, and we must look back on them, take stock of ourselves and be grateful for the graces we've received and repentant of the sins we've committed. If we do that, then we will continue to ascend that great ladder to heaven.